Happy Labor Day, Brainiacs. Boy, you're going to be glad you tuned into this episode. Why? Because we have the fabulous Ricky Phillips with us today, bass player for the band Styx. Oh, and another band called Bad English and the Babies. Maybe you've heard of them. Not too shabby. And the usual blabberings between the Big M and myself. So you're going to want to stick around for this whole show. Let's do this.
Blabberbrains.
And welcome to Blabberbrains Show. Happy Labor Day, everybody. What's up there, Big M?
Oh, not much.
How's it hanging on Labor Day here? What do you got planned for today? No labor or labor?
Well, it depends on what happens with the rest of the day. If it was rain, then I'm not taking the door off my screen and porch where I'm at right now and have to adjust the hinges. So it depends. I'll be down the road here having some barbecue later in the day, but I'm hoping the first part of the day hangs in there where I could actually get some work done and get this door fixed. I've been holding off for like all summer. I'm lazy. Now I really want to do it. So you'll be over here in October. I'll be like, yeah, that door doesn't open up all the way. It's going to slant a little bit. I'll get to it before Thanksgiving.
Well, I'm in the no labor camp for Labor Day, so I'm just going to chill, take it easy, and that's it, But heck, we got a great guest lined up today. Although the Big M will not be able to attend. He's got a lot going on with his new EP that's coming out called Just Me and Hopefully You. So got the big release. He just released the video. It's having a little technical difficulty on the social media side, but hopefully we'll get that straightened out.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare. But the video's out there, even on YouTube, and of course any streaming service. If you look me up, like I did, just type in Just Me and Hopefully You. And I think it's on 28 different streaming platforms in the world. Most of them I never heard of before.
So there's no excuse not to hear it. But anyways, our special guest is Ricky Phillips from Styx. We can officially say that because he's been in the band for like 20 years now. We know from Bad English and the Babies, and those are all very popular bands and big bands. But he's been a member of Styx now for 20 years. I can't believe that. That's like that's half the time almost half the time that I've been seeing Styx live, and almost half the time that I've actually seen Ricky live. The first time I saw Ricky perform was with the Babies, opening up for Styx. As a matter of fact,
that's a long time ago.
That was in 1980 on the Cornerstone tour, and they were on the Union Jacks tour, and so it was a great show. Of course, I had no idea who Ricky Phillips was at the time. He said it. I think he told me before that that's like how he even met Styx. Was on that tour, and got to be friends with Tommy Shaw. So be interesting to hear what he has to say. I'm sure we'll have a good conversation. But speaking of music and musicians, you had an interesting post this week. Of course, a lot of people are jumping on it about Ozzy splitting his home out in California, going back to England, which I think he had a part-time home there anyways. I think he was just trying to draw some attention to himself because he said he's leaving because of gun violence. But, there's gun violence no matter where you go. I mean, England, matter of fact, the gun violence is on the rise, which is weird because, they have super, super, super strict gun laws over in the UK. So the fact that I don't know, to them, a rise might not be anywhere close to what it is here in the United States. But if it's big enough for it to make the news that there's a rise in gun crimes and gun violence in the UK, then that's probably not good. You're probably going to run into it wherever you go. I think he was probably planning on making that move anyways and decided to try to get some press out of it. Maybe it's a legitimate thing that he fears for his family's life with gun violence, although I'm pretty sure he probably lives in a gated community and probably doesn't have to worry about that. And I'm sure he doesn't go out and do his own shopping at Walmart and stuff.
Yeah, I don't even understand. The only reason I shared it on my social media was because I know how many people I see on social media. Screw this person, screw that person, go to hell. I'll never listen to their music and all that. Okay, and most of the time when the people were yelling and complaining about that, they really weren't listening to that musician anyhow. But I
Right.
wanted to see how many people I know, which let's face it, most of Ozzy's crowd is probably, at least here in the U.S., is probably older conservative men at this point. They might have been more liberal years ago when they were younger. That's sort of kind of how things evolve as people get
Progression,
older.
right?
So I wanted to see all the people I know who complain about musicians, and if they're liberal, see what they would say about Ozzy. And it was crickets. You're the only person who said anything. And then John Owen did it. 4 or 5 days later, he came across my post. But I just wanted to prove the point that see, they really like Ozzy. He said, "Oh, ignored it. That he didn't say that." And
Well, go ahead, finish your
and
statement.
the thing is, I don't know if I'd say that for publicity, because if anything, it would tick off probably a bigger portion of his audience than anything, because I know his audience. A lot of them are, they're older people, and they may live their life in a liberal manner, but when it comes to everything else, they're fairly conservative. I just think that I don't know. I just think that it does. I don't get it. I don't understand why he's worried about himself. Just like when I remember years ago when Freddie Mercury died of AIDS, he's like, I can't do his accent, so I'm not going to try to imitate him in Blabber and in English. I can't speak an English accent, but he said the whole thing. It worried him because he said it could happen to him. Well, if he's married and he's in just him and his wife, how's he going to get AIDS?
Right.
Even if it was from, unless he's shooting up in his arm or something. So I don't know. I just think that, I don't know. I'm not as big of a, I love the old Black Sabbath music. The Ozzy stuff, yeah, it's okay. And some of it I do like, but I could care less about it. I don't understand the big love for him that some people have where he all the drug problems. He runs and leaves his wife. He tries to kill his wife when he's all drunk and on drugs. I mean, I'm just not that. I don't think he's a putz myself.
I think everybody deserves a new start, whatever. But the point is, where Ozzy lives is of no concern to mine. I really couldn't care less if he's in the United States or Canada or Zimbabwe or the UK. He can live wherever he wants to live. It doesn't affect me. I don't think, I'm not going to call him a clown or whatever. It just doesn't make any, it doesn't matter to me enough to do it. My only post on your thing was talking about it's weird that he's doing that as news is coming out of the UK, brand new news about the rise in gun violence in the UK. So I just thought it was kind of ironic.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't get most of what he says and what he does. Frankly, you know me, Mike. I'm one of the people. I don't understand how he's as big as he is. And I really don't get it.
Right.
I really don't get it. But no, I'm a big Black Sabbath fan with him, and also the Ronnie James Dio stuff I love too. Maybe I like that even more too, because it kind of was the forefront of what heavy metal started to be. That true English style heavy metal became, Yeah,
I think we talked about that before. I think I prefer the Dio years of Sabbath more than anything. I don't know why. It was just a good sound for what they were trying to put out and stuff like that.
But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't around as long, and I mean, as far as I do like the traditional Black Sabbath stuff, but a lot of those albums were recorded on cheap. You could hear the sound quality of them, or some of the songs, like on the same album, it varies from one to the other. Everything was recorded so quickly. I think what they spent on the first album, $1,500. See, now granted, back then in that time, maybe it would be around $7,000 or $8,000 now, but still. Yeah. That's insane.
That's like what you pay to go get a demo, like of one song or something.
It's crazy, and I mean that's because they were such a tight band. But you want to hear Tony Iommi really play his best guitar? Listen to that Heaven and Hell album.
Right.
I mean, geez, was it Lonely's the Word or whatever? Man, he's just. I mean, his guitar playing is so different, and not that it's not great in Sabbath, but man. I mean, and it stuck with Ozzy, but with Ronnie James Dio in there, it took him just completely, to me, took his guitar playing from, yeah, that's really good, classic rock to, man, this is really good. I think it's great.
There's one of the things though too about, at least about Ozzy, I'll give him that at least over the years, there's so many people, and I want to talk to Ricky a little bit about this as well. There's just so many people and so many bands, musicians and bands, that keep trying to put out new music, and it fails for it. Like they just cannot write anymore. And, maybe they just, are burned out of ideas or whatever. But like Styx is one of these bands that put out a new album, two new albums in recent years. And their one album, The Mission, to me is like one of the best Styx albums ever. And the proof of that is the reception that was by the fans, to the point where they played a good handful of shows, to sold out shows, where they were doing The Mission in its entirety, like from beginning to end. And you don't see new bands doing that, because it's like they if the best they might do is play one or two of the new songs, slip them in there somewhere, and just bury them in amongst their catalog of hit songs and stuff like that. So, but Ozzy, at least still, even in recent years, is still sounding like Ozzy and writing songs that sound like Ozzy. So
Or
I'll give him
somebody's
that
writing
much.
songs. Yeah,
Well, whoever it
somebody's writing
is,
songs that-
it I mean, whether he's making a good decision for the people that he's working with to help write the songs. I know that there's big, huge controversy in the past, especially like with Jake E. Lee and with Randy Rhoads and everybody that have contributed to the band and music writing and stuff like that. And Ozzy took credit for it all. But I still think that the guy is not stupid. He might be like shrewd, and he might be a shark, and he might be a jackass when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I don't even think it's him. I think it's his
well,
wife
it could be
handling
Sharon.
everything.
It could be Sharon.
He's probably a really nice guy.
When it comes to music, Ozzy's not a slouch. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows what's good. He knows what his sound is. Whether he's writing it or he's choosing someone else to write it for it, he's not putting out stuff that just like, what is this crap? Even his last album with Black Sabbath was actually really good. If you heard it.
I bought it when it came, the day it came out. I was looking forward.
I mean,
to it.
It was probably
fantastic.
Now this is obviously up for debate, but it might be one of the best Black Sabbath albums with Ozzy singing on it. So
yeah, I mean, it's an EP. I mean, I think was there like five songs?
There was more than that. I think wasn't there like 7 songs on there or something.
No, it's an EP.
No,
it's a true EP, and yeah, it is really good. And it did take you back sort of into the seven. I always thought, that it would have been great if Sabbath, say, 20 years ago, would have gone back and did all grabbed from the early days, from the late 60s into the early mid 70s, all their best songs that everybody knows, and gone into the studio with today's technology and the way to get the guitar to sound beefy and that pumped up sound, to re-record like an album worth of 10 of their best tunes from then. Can you imagine listening to, with modern recording technology and not being done on cheap, listening to War Pigs or something like that? I mean, it would be fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always just interesting to me. And, I'm not going to name any bands because I don't want to throw people under the bus, but there's just so many bands that they'll come out with music and it'll be like, oh, this is the best stuff we've ever written. And I'll get the album. Of course, I have, Apple Music subscription. And so I can listen to it, as part of the subscription.
I do that.
And I'll listen to it. I'm like, there's not even a usable song on the whole entire album. How do they think? I mean, I know they have to say that to get people to listen and whatever, but why are you going through the trouble of recording something that you have to know is just garbage? It's not very good. I don't get it.
Somebody around him's telling them that it's good. I don't know, Mike. I could show you some
these musicians have been around for decades. They know when they've written something gold or not, and
some of them I don't think do anymore, Mike. There might be a little different. I mean, you're talking, there's not a lot of bands that are going to be like a Styx that you know, and I'm sure there's a lot of casual fans, you know, they've been around forever. People have gotten older and moved on, and they don't listen to a lot of new music, and they don't go to concerts anymore. But they're one of the few bands from that era, you know, from the, I would say late, as I consider it, late classic rock era. I mean, they're not, you know, like the Rolling Stones come out in 63, 64. But they're one of the few bands that, you know, still have enough core audience to keep them touring and really in big places. You know, I mean, you see a lot of the bands that are, you know, where we live in, you know, in the Pittsburgh area, they're playing venues that are, you know, maybe you could get 1,000 people in there, and there's not a lot, and there's still seats left, you know, the night of the show. There's not a lot of those bands anymore from that era, you know, right before the hair bands and everything that are out there that have a core audience that they could just say, you know what, we're going to go to Des Moines, we're going to go to Iowa, we're going to pick out a city there and play, and they're going to get, you know, they could get 15 or 20,000 people, maybe more, that show up. I mean, it's just, there's not a lot of bands that are able to do that.
And Styx, you know, to their credit, is one of those bands. I mean, they're still going strong. They're still touring all year long while writing new music and putting out albums and just nonstop. I mean, and they're, you know, obviously these guys aren't getting any older. The younger, granted, there's only, you know, Chuck travels with them and doesn't play that much, and JY is really truly the only original member left in the band for the last 50 years. Tommy's been in there for, you know, for 46 years. He's been in the band 47 years. You know, that's a long time to be just, you know, go and still, you know, being on top and still selling out shows no matter where they go. So yeah, it's rare. You know, most bands just burn out and fade away. I mean, and you know, as I'll tell you, and we really can't make this too long because I want to make sure I give enough time for Ricky, and I know that you've got a lot on your plate to take care of with your EP and stuff like that. But you know, I was just reading something by Stephen Pearcy the other day, and I find him more interesting the more I listen to him in interviews. Because, you know, he talks about things like, look, I know I'm not a good singer, but I'm a good front man, and I'm good for Rat. I know I can't, I'm not a good, I'm a much better songwriter and even a guitar player and drummer than I am a singer. And so he admits that, but he says, look, it's Rat. But the one thing he just said in a recent interview is said, we should have called it quits after Robin died. He said, because just trying to piece things together and trying to keep it going, it's not Rat, and it's not fair to the fans to put together something that's a makeshift band and call it Rat and put it out there in front of people. I mean, you never hear that kind of honesty from people in bands that are just trying to milk it for all it's worth and trying to keep their name going and trying to keep their music going. I found it refreshing.
I mean, he's taken a beating over the years from people chopping into him. I mean, I remember, I'm not going to go into, I think some of the video footage, you know, from, you know, being a little too under the influence on stage.
He's always under
the influence. That one was really bad when he was laying back and laying on a drum, up by the drum riser and laying on his back and just kind of going at it. But I think what ends up helping, it's a little harder with the hair bands than it is for, say, a Styx. I mean, Styx still, but no, they're going to give you a show, and they're going to and it's going to look like going to a rock concert, but they're not out there trying to be, you know, like Motley Crue. How many people on this tour you know, you keep reading about it. People here on social media after they left this town that they're like, they suck. You know. And surprise, everybody said the same thing.
Well, it's mostly Vince. It's mostly Vince.
But even some of the other stuff that I've actually seen it and listened to, it's like
sloppy.
It's awful. It's bad. They're just trying to survive the show. And the thing is, they're the big draw. But everybody that I've talked to who've been to the show locally, and anything that I've read, I'm connected to thousands of people on social media, and it doesn't surprise me. They're not one of my favorite bands by any means. But of course, Def Leppard is the band who is precision. It's super tight.
They've worked at that.
The sound quality is great. You know, maybe sometimes the vocals might not be quite where they need to be, but the music, and that doesn't. And I mean, how would I not be surprised by that? Even though I'm not a fan of the band, I would expect out of all that whole group, even the way they record their music and the music that they wrote when they were at their biggest was very well put together and tight. And, you know, I wouldn't expect anything less from them, really.
Right. Now, I mean, since you're mentioning them, I mean, they are one that, like, I really tried to find a great song or even a really good listenable song in their new album, and I haven't heard it yet. Maybe I need to give it a better listen. But, you know, Joe Elliott, to his credit, has really tried to work with trying to make his sound and with the rest of the band still sound like Def Leppard, even though he just can't hit those big notes anymore. So he found a range that works with him, and also singing falsetto, actually probably pretty good, to the point where it still sounds like Def Leppard when you hear them live, and it helps the fact that the other guys are singing as well. So I mean, I think that's showing that they care enough to say, we can't just go out there and mail it in, and people deserve, or, you know, better than that. And I like bands that do that. I like bands that say, look, you know, the people are paying a lot of money to come see us. They're expecting a good show. We can't just go out there and mail it in. And I feel like that's what Motley Crue's doing. I think that they're just saying, we don't care if we suck. We're just going to go out there and make the money, because we, you know, who cares if we sound good or not?
Well, there's a big difference. I mean, you know, and people seem to said Poison was really good. Joan Jett was really good. But Poison, I've watched some of the footage, some of the shows that they've done, and I'm connected to Ricky Rocket, who actually is a pretty cool guy. And you know,
well, Brett's a good guy too.
Yeah, you know. I haven't exchanged any messages on social media with him, but yeah, he seems like a cool guy too. But they're the band that puts on the best show.
Right.
That night.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
You know, and that's how you hear that. And they sound pretty good. And one of the things that I've noticed,
and they look like they're still having fun.
Yeah, and surprisingly, over the years, CeCe DeVille keeps getting better as a guitar player. I mean, you know,
I think he's cleaned his act up too, though. He was another guy that was a big junkie and stuff like that, and was always going on stage drunk. And I think he's been clean and sober and stuff.
Some of the stuff he's playing, it's like I'm listening to. I'm like, this is actually really good. You know, where before it was a lot of twirling around on the ground and dive bombs on the tremolo and making all the noise and squeals and that. Right. But I mean, he's actually playing. Sounds pretty damn good to me for an '80s style guitar player. But I think with Motley Crue, I mean, you got Tommy Lee, who's still taking his Jaeger machine so he could do shots of freezing cold shots of Jaeger. I mean, you got Mick Mars, who could barely walk at this point.
He's like a walking corpse.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, that he has no control over. And you got Vince Neil, that's just a complete mess. And right. I thought he had cleaned himself up. I just think at this point, they're just like, I hope we could survive this. And probably Nikki Sixx is probably the only guy that's sort of kind of healthy and not really doing anything stupid. And he's, you know, not that he's the most sophisticated bass player out there, but he keeps a real solid rhythm. Yeah, so if he plays what fits the music, you know,
right?
And he does, and he does it well. But
interesting. So, all right, well, we're gonna wrap it up here a little early. Like I said, we want to give Ricky some time, and it's going to be really odd doing the interview without you, Big M, but we understand, you know, you have to do what you have to do, you know what I mean? But, and make sure everybody, I mean, there's no excuse not to go out and download the album or listen to the album or do whatever you can. It's on every streaming service. It's called Just Me and Hopefully You. New video out for it is called Your Scars Are Beautiful.
Mike did the video, by the way.
Oh, you
it's
don't have
really
to give props for that, but thank you. And it was a lot of fun to put together, and I think it just all came into place. You know, it was good. And
Chip Dominic with his
great job on the sound. Yeah,
before and after music group, he did the mixing, the mastering, the engineering, and never worked with him before, and it came out really well. All it is just a vocal track and an acoustic track,
guitar,
and about 30 seconds of added acoustic over the whole 5 songs combined.
Right. Yeah, it's really raw and good music. So make sure you guys give it a good listen. And I'll be back. The Big M will be back on the next show. So hang in there tight. And also, Styx is coming to Pittsburgh. For those of you in the Pittsburgh listening area for the Blabber Brain show, there might still be some lawn seats left. Make sure you grab a ticket and come out and see them, because that's always a good time too, because they got REO Speedwagon, they got Loverboy, who actually still really sound good, no matter, even if Mike Reno's really big now, but he still can belt it out and still can sing all the songs that he could sing. And from just added, from what I understand, is Donnie Harris too, so is on the bill. So should be a really good show.
I thought REO Speedwagon was part of that. I'm wrong.
It is. I said REO Speedwagon.
Okay.
And I think they've been trading off who's headlining or not, so I'm not sure who's headlining. But sorry, no Blabber Boast today, folks. Maybe next time, and we're going to try to squeeze more of these shows in. It's only been about 2 months since our last one, so we're getting a little bit better at this. Anyway, so all right, we'll catch you after the break, folks.
Yeah, see you guys soon.
Blabber Brains.
Welcome back to Blabber Brains show. We have the one and only Ricky Phillips with us. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you.
You can't hear it, but the studio audience is going nuts right now for you. You're still a fan favorite with the studio audience.
Sure.
So I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you guys are really busy tour right now. Is this the last leg of your tour?
This is the last leg of this tour. This is the fourth and last leg. It's been going really well. We started, I think, number 2 in our genre, I guess you'd call it. And now we're the number one. By the second leg, we were the number 1 grossing. And there's, of course, this doesn't count the Rolling Stones and the stadium tours and everything, but in filling up all the places around the country, which has been a blast. All the bands are having fun. Mike Reno and I have been playing a little bit of golf when we can on days off. And they're fantastic. I mean, if you haven't seen Loverboy in a while, I hadn't. They're fantastic.
Just in online videos. Last time I saw them live was maybe, 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. And then the REO and Styx have had a long, ongoing sort of friendly rivalry and a brotherhood, really. I mean, we razz them as hard as they razz us and have for years, and they're good guys, and they still bring it too. So it's been a fun run, but a little exhausting. I don't know exactly why. Couldn't be because we're getting older, I don't think.
No,
it has nothing to do.
Yeah.
It has.
Not that you need any introductions, but for those of you who are late to the game, Ricky is the bass player for Styx for almost 20 years now, for crying out loud. And of course, Bad English and the Babies and David Coverdale and Ronnie Montrose and a handful of other wonderful musicians that he's played with over the years.
That's a better introduction than I get during our gig. I like that.
Well, you're featured right now, so what the heck? But and you speaking of getting older, you do have a mile marker birthday coming up, I think, don't you, next month?
Yes, I do. It's I probably would be freaked out if I really believed it, but it's just unfathomable to have been doing what I do and getting away with it for as long as I have and enjoying life, and I feel blessed, but it's it's crazy. I mean, not only will I start my 20th year with Styx, we always count September 11th, which is Tommy Shaw's birthday. We had a big party when they had asked me to join the band. First got the phone call from Todd Sucherman. I think you and I had told this story, but I'll repeat part of it. It's Todd and I met doing sessions, and those people who don't know who Todd Sucherman is are probably not drummers or lovers of incredible drumming. And he and I did sessions in Los Angeles together. He called me and said, "Hey, look, I just found out that JY and Tommy are going to call you and offer you." He called it the the chair, which is a very jazz terminology. I had to get a giggle out of that, being the rocker that I am. But
Right.
he said, they're going to offer you the bass chair. Are you going to take it? Are you interested? I asked him if I could be the first to call, blah, 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 which is so cool to have that relationship.
Heck yeah.
Of a bass player and a drummer, and then have him have the heart to do that. And he said, Tommy's going to be calling you here in a few. And I just wanted to be the first. And so that's how it started. And it's been, a lot of hard work and I had a lot of music to learn in a short amount of time. I remember I didn't leave my studio for, I would say, probably 3 or 4 weeks before I had to finally put it to a test with the guys. And now here we are, as I said, starting this 20th year coming up. Man, pinch me.
Wow. What a ride, huh? I mean, first of all, I guess you don't even think that far ahead. Hey, I could be with these guys for 20 years, whatever. But, and especially now, as long as you've been going with them and as great as you guys have been doing on tour and everything like that, is this the band you're retiring with? Is this your ride or die band?
Well, I have to be careful what I say because most of the things I've said have been disproven. But
well, just your ambition, anyways.
I suppose I saw B.B. King when he was 93.
Wow.
Sitting in a chair but doing it. It's crazy what the possibilities are. I hope we keep going we don't discuss ever stopping.
Right.
But you never know what's around the corner. Life brings you all kinds of issues and things. So,
well, let's be honest. I don't know that Styx would have the longevity that it's had if Tommy would have lost his voice along the way. I know he protects his voice like an instrument, but so many other singers from that era have just blown their voice out. They don't even sound the same. They can't tour it. And even if they try, it just sounds horrible. Tommy sounds in some ways stronger now than he did back then.
And he might be because he cares and he works. He's taught me a lot. And
right.
I'm twice the singer I was when I thought I was a pretty good singer, but man, I would lose my voice. I didn't know how to approach. I don't even think about it now, and I probably couldn't even explain what it is that I do now that he taught me starting 20 years ago.
Right.
But it's phenomenal what you could do if you take care of your voice, warm it up properly. We all go face to face. I have a really cool little video I did of my dad, he's 90 this year, but
wow,
this was a couple of years ago. I made him. He had a little trouble walking up the stairs, but I made him come up and sing the vocals. We get face to face and sing all the key parts of the set,
right.
Full bore, face to face, so we can see that we're moving at the same place, at the same time. The harmonies are nice and lush. And I made him sing the warm up for this. So I've got this little video. Actually, Japo, our assistant tour manager, filmed it while he was singing with us. But it's a ritual that we do every night. It's more than a ritual. It's a necessary piece of why we go out and can kill it confidently.
Right.
I'm going to jinx myself
cool.
right now, but I haven't lost my voice in 15 years.
Wow.
And I used to lose my voice just because of all the intense singing we have. And by singing properly and breathing properly and a lot of little things, vowel sound techniques, as for as, I don't ever sing because that closes you off. All these things that Tommy has taught me, and all of us, he's made us all better singers.
Well, yeah, and I don't think a lot of people think about that with backup singers, right? That for the harmonies and stuff like that, you always wonder. Like I remember seeing Styx and REO in Tampa a couple of years ago. As a matter of fact, I took my daughters to the show, and I told them, just a little side note. I said, you've never experienced a concert until you go to an outdoor amphitheater and you watch it in the rain, in the pouring down rain. I said, but you're not going to experience that here because we're undercover and it's not supposed to rain whatsoever. It poured. Like for at least a half hour out of nowhere, this big thunderstorm comes up. And of course, in Tampa, they just have, it's just a sun covering. So we got soaked anyways, in the show. But Kevin Cronin had laryngitis at the time and he couldn't sing full voice. And so they didn't get to experience that. But so you see that from time to time, but nobody stops to think, well, what if the backup, the people doing all the harmonies and stuff like this, if they can't sing, would it sound much different? And the answer is yes. If the key vocals aren't there to back that all up and create those harmonies, it's going to make a drastic difference. For
certainly Styx and some other bands as well. I mean, let's go back to the Beatles. Yeah. If it wasn't for all those guys having that blend that they had, that magical blend the Beatles in particular had, who knows if they would have been as big as they were. You key in on Tommy's voice, you key in on the lead singer, JY, when he does anything from Miss America to Lorelei to all his signature songs.
Right.
Nobody sings like that. I mean, who's got that big? I mean, I've tried. But
and at his age too, still belting it out,
Yeah. And so, we just, I guess the only point I was trying to make, and I don't mean to labor this thing, but we don't do this by accident. I mean, it's a part of our routine to save our voices, keep being able to give our all instead of just kind of be careful. I guess I can't go for that note tonight or whatever. It's every night we're going full bore.
Right. And I guess that brings me to another interesting observation with the last two albums you guys have had. I'm noticing that there are three key sounds to I'll call it the new Styx, right? You guys still try to keep that classic sound that if you listen to it music and harmony wise, it's like you're listening back in the 70s and 80s, right? And then you have this like quasi mix of that and something new. And then you have something that's completely different than Styx ever sounded. Like, Crash of the Crown and The Mission have a blend of all three of those together. And I'm just wondering, like, is there a conscious effort to keep a certain Styx sound, or are you intentionally redeveloping it, or is it just naturally happening and occurring with each song?
Actually, a little bit of all of that, but very conscious of, like, I have songs that I thought, this is great. Okay, I can't wait to play. And then I'll go, I won't even play it for them because I go, this doesn't sound like Styx. It's a different genre. It's a different, rock is a pretty large genre, if you call rock. I mean, it's all over the map. And so we need to stay in that window. We need to stay adding to the catalog with similar sounding approaches. It seems like everybody would have done everything by now, but it's an endless void of things you can do musically.
Right.
But we try not to copy ourselves, if that makes sense. I mean, just keep in the same vein, but let's not do this. That same C, D, G, B,
right.
chord.
Yep.
So, and everybody seems to be, it's funny how you'll go through these periods of, you just don't like anything you're writing. And then you're driving one day and some little, noodle of a night. It's like Tommy tells the story of driving in for the Paradise Theater album, I think it was, and Too Much Time on My Hands. He didn't have a rock song that the bad guys were really leaning on him to do the big rock song for the record, and he didn't have it. And then all of a sudden, in his head, and this is in the 70s, so there were no, you couldn't grab your phone and like sing into it. So he said he had to. It's about an hour drive or whatever it was, and he had to remember that. But it is a conscious thing. But I think also when we get together now, I've been trained, if you will, to sing like they do. And so it's hopefully a continuation, and that, we're staying in our lane, not because there aren't other places to go. There's plenty, and we've written them and we play each other our song ideas. But I mean, then all of a sudden people are going, well, who are these guys? We don't want to confuse. And I'm probably breaking this down even too much. We don't really give it that much of a conscious thought. We just naturally move in that direction. And Will Ivankovich, who produced, Crash the Crown and the Mission, we brought him into the band at a certain point And he's probably more of a stickler than any of us. He knows every single Styx song, forwards and backwards, inside and out, what instrumentation that Tommy and JY have forgotten were even there, that are in the back.
Right.
And he's, so that's been refreshing for us. At first I was kind of like, well, wait a minute, why do we need another guy? I mean, what's going on here? And it didn't just like happen. Well, let's do this. And it happened because we enjoyed working with him so much. Just a good producer, and he was bringing such incredible things out of us. Mm-hmm. We weren't stuck in a rut. We weren't doing. We take this seriously. We prepare. We write our parts individually in our home studios that we get together. They feed us material, or Will would feed me material to my studio, and I'd bounce it down and work on writing parts. And he'd had ideas for parts that I either liked or I didn't like. And but then we get face to face, or at least I got face to face. During COVID, I flew to Nashville. Well, some of the guys did their parts from their home studios just to be safe. We didn't know what was going on at that time, if you can recall. And but I knew I needed to be face to face with both Tommy and Will, because if you don't like this, I got this. I'm that kind of a guy. I've got a little bit of an arsenal, because I know over the years of recording with everybody from John Waite to Jimmy Page to Neal, Schon to these guys are particular, and they're not necessarily going to love what you love. It's just the nature of the beast. So you don't want to have it to be an argument. You want it to be a conversation, and you got to be prepared for that conversation to go in different directions. And so that's the way I've always worked. And this was a good decision, especially on Crash of the Crown. I think the mission, we were all able to get face to face in Tommy's studio in Nashville, and at least hear it just through small amplifiers, play all the material and work it out, and even vocally. But Crash of the Crown is a pretty big sandwich, and it's I knew I had to be face to face doing this like we're talking right now, although we have that technology.
It's hard. Yeah. And Will has contributed a lot with the writing, and I think that his background is a love for the sound and the band of Styx and the music helps in that writing. And I noticed too, I think you were a bigger contributor this time around on Crash of the Crown. And so I love the fact that so many bands have been around for a while, people start to kind of have their own individual contributions, okay, this is my song, this is your song, this is whatever. And the fact that you guys are still collaborating on stuff is really cool, because it also shows a camaraderie within the band. You're not just doing this for the money, you're not mailing it in, and you guys still like each other, hopefully. And at least that's what it comes across.
We do. We see each other more than we see our families, and we are kind of it's a kind of corny to say this, I know, but it's a brotherhood. It's a band of brothers out there, and we all have our own unique little different personalities. One's the stray cat, and one's the this, and one's the that. But it seems to fill all those missing parts together, and it's working. So we're not really overanalyzing, and we do disagree. There's no question, but we fight fair. It's like you got to learn how to do that, so that when you walk out of the room, you're happy. Oh man, that worked out. That's great. Not like you should have done it my way, And I've been in that situation. It's such a downward spiral. So it's cool. I love being in this band for all those reasons.
Well, I know a lot of, like I said, bands that are still out there that have been around for a while that are still recording music for whatever reason. And this isn't every band, but this is a lot of bands out there. It's the same people writing the music, but they've seemed to have lost that magic touch of being able to write a good song. I'm not going to name names and throw people under the bus. I'm just not. But for whatever reason, when I'm not going to go back through all the right before you with Glenn and stuff like that, because that was still really good Styx music. But I thought that the Mission was one of Styx's best albums ever. And then Crash of the Crown was a great follow-up to that, right? And a lot of people, even when they do that, they just want to make it show that they're still recording albums and getting it out there and writing music, and they'll play a couple of those songs live. But you guys have actually done several shows of doing the mission in its entirety. So I think that speaks volumes to not only like how much you like the songs, but how it's resonated with the fans. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to put a show together with people to come out and see it. So, like, what is that key thing that like you guys are still able to do it and still able to come up with great songs that connect with people and play it live and have people, want to see something like the mission in its entirety, and other bands just can't do it? I mean, I know you can't speak for them, but what do you think about Styx?
It's a good point. And I've been there. I've been stuck and writing songs. Okay, it's a song. It doesn't really knock me out. But we took a long time even to come back to writing. We did a few things and they were good for what they were. But the mission, there was a big gap there before the mission. All of a sudden, we found ourselves in live shows and been hanging out. Now it built, and guys you'd hear somebody working on a song and you go, oh, that's cool, what's that? And we have a little jam room we always have so we can warm up. And like just the other day I had this little thing I started playing. It's a kind of a plucking, it's a different kind of, I've never heard anybody do anything quite like this on bass. And Will heard it and grabbed Tommy, and then they turned on the recorder and we put down my idea. But that's the way these guys are. Right. But it took us a while. Like I said, we had this gap where I don't want to say we're not inspired, because everybody was doing other things, but being able to all of a sudden go, oh, this is good and this is good, and build that pile. So all of a sudden you got a little arsenal. Now this could be a good record. And that's kind of what happened with the mission, and Will being there in Nashville with Tommy was very helpful. And then obviously on Crash of the Crown as well. But I wonder sometimes if when there's these big gaps of time in other bands that I don't know the backstory is, if we didn't have this closeness and doing all the shows that we do, forcing ourselves to be in each other's faces, whether the mission would have come along, because it's tough if you're just the singer or you're the main writer in a band. And I've seen these situations. I know these people, they're friends of mine, and I know what they're up against. And it's not easy, folks. I mean, you can get lucky on your first, somebody wrote a cool song and so you've got a hit on your first record. Okay, what are you going to do on your second record? A lot of people die there on the vine, and there's no real one answer, but for some reason we've got the wheels back on the track. So I'm really happy about that, because this is created and rejuvenated, and there's some blossoming going on from the heels of both of those records.
Yeah, you make a really good, interesting point too. I mean, that's how you come up with one-hit wonders or bands that can't follow up a really solid album with something else. Because even back in the day, it's almost like they caught lightning in a bottle with something or whatever, and they just couldn't replicate that long enough. But the other problem that this creates is it's building an already enormously 50-year library of music for Styx, and to pick and choose which songs to play live and stuff. That's why I really appreciated when you guys used to do the super medley and start throwing in those songs that like you never hear Styx play live or whatever, or rarely hear them play live, and you throw it all together. As much as it seems like a throwaway to some people, I think there's a lot of fans that are just like, I can't believe they're playing some of this stuff. This sounds amazing. Even if it's 10 seconds of it, it's awesome that they haven't forgotten about it.
Do you know who put that together? Do you know who put that piece together?
Let me guess. I'm going to guess Todd.
On the nose. Yeah, it's 18 songs that he cut together into this medley. And it represents the whole Styx history in this flash of, I don't know how long that thing is, maybe 3.5 minutes or something like that. It's
just long, yeah.
And I'm telling you, they just started doing that when I came into the band. So Todd had just written it, and that was a big. It was tough.
That'll put you to the test, huh?
It really does, because every, I don't know, 15 seconds or something, you're going into another song, and you're going in. How do you get there, and how is it seamless, and how does it?
Yeah.
So that was really good for me, probably because it made everything else much easier. And I'd actually like to if we have time, I'm going to maybe bring that up because that would be fun to revisit that. It's very, very cool. And can I just say something?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to overlook something we haven't talked about, and that's Lawrence Gowan.
Yeah.
Lawrence Gowan,
amazing.
Is a lot of this couldn't be done without that voice. That
100%. I agree.
There's not a note too high for him, and he sings it so. He loves the band. He was discovered by the band. He opened up on piano for the band in Canada once, and they were. And so when the time came for them to need a new guy, and they said, "What about that guy?" And Todd happened to run into him in London. It was for, I believe, Princess Diana's life celebration, and I know it had a name for it. There was but
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
he ran into him there and said, "Hey, I ran into that guy, blah blah blah." And now it's that guy is Lawrence Gowan, who's written incredible stuff for the band, sings incredible stuff for the band, has filled some big shoes, and does it with great respect, and he does it. He's a class act and a hard worker, one of the hardest workers. He's always got his headphones on and playing his keyboards from the minute we get to this, to the gig, until we go on stage.
And what a showman too. I mean, he's just an absolute showman. I mean, you don't
He's
really,
a ham. Come on.
I hate to say this, but I know the hardcore Styx fans, want to see Dennis and all this other stuff, but if you really love Styx, you don't miss Dennis. I hate to say that with Larry there, because he's such a showman and he's such a good singer. With all
due respect to Dennis left some huge, obvious imprint.
Yeah.
And songs and this legacy. And so, but I feel like we can all play nice here. It's just the fans, if you're stuck in that realm, we can't do anything about it. That's okay. But I mean, if you listen to what Lawrence has done and how he has lovingly, with kid gloves, respected the material, but coming in, being the ham that he is, and the showman and the entertainer, it adds to the brew. And he does it respectfully. He really
doesn't try to replicate. He doesn't try to be Dennis DeYoung. In fact, Dennis DeYoung had a passive aggressive statements when he said one time, he goes, Lawrence Gowan is the best Lawrence Gowan there is. He says, but I'm the best Dennis DeYoung there is. And I never saw Lawrence Gowan trying to be Dennis DeYoung or even trying to take his place. He's being the best Lawrence Gowan that he can be. And it's pretty darn good.
Yeah. And if I always pick, especially when I was a kid, I always picked he's my favorite bass player.
Right.
Now it went from John Entwistle to Chris Squire. Well, I maybe moved back to John Entwistle at points, but then you get older and you go, wait a minute. They're incredible. They're both incredible. Right. This is not a contest, folks.
It's not an either or, right? Yeah. Why do you have to choose one over the other and stuff? It's silly.
I think that's something that just happens, unfortunately, but
he's been perfect for the Styx brand. I mean, he's perfect for the sound. He's perfect for the brand. He's
absolutely.
He's been. God delivered him to the band. That's all I can say. But I think that. I remember one time, Journey themselves have built a big, huge library of music. And one time what they did back when Steve Augeri was in the band singing is they did a tour for the fans. So what they did was they put on their website a list of every single song they've ever recorded back from Journey 1 through Generations or whatever tour they were on. Sure. I forget what it was. Right. And they let the fans pick what songs they wanted to play. And now they didn't do the whole entire show like that, but they did probably about a half hour's worth of content of just the music that the fans picked. And they played songs that Journey may have never played or haven't played since like the 70s and stuff. And all that. So have you guys ever considered doing something like that, like something for the fans where let them pick some of the songs that you guys want to
not in a discussion, but I've thought about that before. Now you got to be on your toes because that's a big catalog. You better have listened because some of the songs are huge and I hear them on the radio, but we haven't played them in years. So, but or not necessarily huge, but they're good really good songs.
Right.
And to go way back to even the wooden nickel days.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I would.
Was it 1 penny, 2 penny? I mean, all
Half
stuff.
penny, 2 penny.
A lot of Styx fans would be going, "What's that? What's that song?" Or what? There's a bunch of them. But that's
what I'm saying. Yeah, it would be for the hardcore fans, and I think that's what Journey had in mind, because there's. Yeah. I guess the hard part with that is there's so many casual fans that just show up. Right, they only know 5 Styx songs, or whatever, and the rest is just for pure entertainment for their listening ears. And but from my standpoint, when I go to a Styx show, I see a lot of hardcore fans there that have been with you guys for a long time. Now, coming up, this is my I started seeing Styx when I was 12 years old on the Pieces of 8 tour. And this will be my 44th year. Pieces of 8 just celebrated 44 years. It just got released the other day. And on top of that, on my second tour with the band Cornerstone, little band called the Babies opened up for them, and I believe that was the Union Jacks tour, and I believe you were on that tour. So this would probably make about 42 years of me seeing you live in concert.
It's funny because I actually wrote the song Union Jacks, which was John Wade always, when I first joined the band, he said, "I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning. If you got a song idea, call me up and I'll put on the coffee." So we started, I had, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 songs that I was showing John. And he said, "Whoa, let's do like a rock opera with these songs. And let's write this storyline." Because he immediately came up with that story about the downtrodden kid that didn't seem like he could get ahead. He's working in the north of London or trying to get a job in the north of London. He's just out of school and he can't get a job, and he's got the girlfriend, and it just doesn't feel like he owes up to anybody. And he said the caste system is sort of set up that way in Britain. And he said this goes back centuries. So he wanted to write about it. Well, we did it, and it was pretty cool. And the band dug it, and the record company goes, "No way." No. So John said, "Well, okay, we're not going to be able to do this. Any way you can break this down to one song." And that's why Union Jacks is such it's 5 minutes and something long. Right. But I edited it the best I could. Right. And so you're right. That's when I first met the guys in Styx, is touring in, I joined it Babies in 78, so I would have been 79. And we also toured with Alice Cooper that year. We toured with Journey. That's how Neal, Schon, and Steve Smith and I would jam on nights off in clubs and do stuff. And I invited Jonathan along. They heard him play, and they saw him play every night, of course, on the stage with us. It's funny how things happen in this crazy, there's friendships. I don't know if people realize there's so many friendships amongst bands that you've seen and been and toured with. And it's like me and Reno getting away from everybody and going playing golf. Mike Reno, or me and Bruce Hall. I mean, Dave Amato and I have been friends for decades. And all these guys, it's a real cool sort of, I don't know what you'd call it. But there's great respect. There might be competition at times, especially when you're younger. I think bands try to compete a lot with each other. Right. But as you get older, the test of time, you start to realize, wow, there's a reason this guy's still here. There's a reason. And you end up loving the catalog of a lot of your friends and having great respect for it.
Now, I know this is hypothetical, and you've probably never given this any thought, or maybe you have, I don't know, and there's no real right answer for this. But if, speaking of your camaraderie and friendships with people and stuff like that, and because of your history with Neal and whatever, but if you weren't playing in Styx and Ross Valerie exited Journey like he did, do you think they would have called you, or do you think you would have wanted to do that gig?
I don't know. I really liked working with Neal. I was working with Neal at a really good time in Neal's playing, and he was a fountain of ideas, cool stuff. And I stayed at his house on a few occasions up in the Bay Area when we were in writing periods, and Neal and I would go in. We had Denny Carmassi play drums with us. We brought Dean in at one point, and we were writing. I still have a bunch of stuff that I should drag out, really, writing at that time. And we would just record. Neal had a studio and a really nice place for us to work on this stuff up there. And I think Neal and I maybe are a little too aggressive when we work together, for the Journey catalog. It's more, it's the melodic side of which is so cool of Journey. I'm not sure we really wrote in that vein. Not that we couldn't, but we just weren't. So I don't know. I think Journey is in a place where they're making baby steps right now, because there's just always seems to be some drama there, and whatever it is, I love them all. I have deep, long friendships with guys in that band, including Ross. So
right.
I don't know. I like where I am.
How do you guys? Speaking of some of the drama, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into this subject, but one of the things that came out with them, there was a lot of infighting within the band for political reasons, right? For the most part, to me, it seems like, other than Styx back in the day visiting the White House with Ronald Reagan and stuff like that, Styx is pretty apolitical. And I think in today's day and age, I think that's a good call. Is that something that is just natural? Like, you guys don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole because you don't want to alienate audiences, just keep that stuff for behind the scenes. Is that even on your mind, or is just like not even a thought?
Yeah, we're not Bruce Springsteen or Bob Dylan. We are, do what you got to do, what's in your heart, your soul, and I applaud anybody, either side of all the fences there are these days. It's for us, it's a time of joy, and it's a time to bring positivity into everybody's life. I think people say, what is that thing? I think you and I talked about this. What is that thing that Styx has? What is that thing? And I think it is there's always a positive mess, or usually there's a positive. It might seem to be a little balls out rock and roll song every once in a while, but it's generally some sort of a positive message, whether it's embracing the day, or embracing your life, or embracing your loved ones, or embracing what you've got. But it's not shoved down your throat like, it's not up with people or something. It's rock and roll.
Yeah, your brand is pretty solid. It's as far as when I speak about brand, and when I work for an advertising agency, so it's we worry about like how people perceive the product, right? So how people perceive Styx as a product is pretty solid. I think that if someone's going to be critical of you, it's just like, I don't like that corporate rock, whatever, back in the 70s, whatever. But by and large, people don't dislike Styx. The people in the band, or they don't have a negative opinion of like, their music is, other than back in the 80s. I remember the backwards messaging that the guys that they had to go through with Snowblind and so, which was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. But and of course the meaning of the river Styx, going into Hades and stuff like that. But there's not this cloud of like, are they good guys? Are they bad guys? Is it a good time? But you go to your show, you can tell you guys are having fun. That feeds into the audience. The audience is having fun. You should look at a Styx show from the audience side once in a while. People are having a good time. You know what I mean? And I know you're in the midst of it, and you can't really take all that in sometimes.
And my friends or my brother, whoever comes to the show, they'll say, "Oh my God, he said, did you like fly all these people in or what?" It's like, but it's kind of cool. It's when I hear it, we do see a lot of smiling faces, but we've got a job to do up there, so we're not really focusing in that much. There might be some little kid in the front row, or somebody will throw a pick too and stuff like that, and we try to engage. But we're at work, we're up there trying to create that response. So, but we feel it. We feel it, but it's great hearing friends who are in the audience, right, various places, whether they're back behind the sound man or they're up front. It's a kind of a different experience.
Well, you're gonna get another reception in some ways. There's a lot of people obviously that don't know this, but you have another Pittsburgh connection in the band. My buddy Mark Petrocelli, who's Todd's drum tech now.
Yeah.
And Mark and I have talked about hooking up while he's in town. But anything, you don't have to give anything away because I don't know if he'll even see this before the show. But you guys planning on anything for him, or
I don't know how that guy got to get. No, he's a sweetheart. I mean, you've
been friends with Todd a long time. Yeah.
For you meet Mark in 30 seconds, and he's a sweetheart. He's a good guy. He's a hard worker. Todd's not an easy guy to work for. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of balls in the air, a lot of things that have to be. And God bless Paulie Carrizo. His passing after all these years. He's been with Styx longer than I have. He was there a full 20, wow. And he's got quite a past. There's a lot of drummers who he's worked with over the years. And so anybody filling those shoes was going to be tough. And Marcus moved right in there and done an amazing job. I know I've talked to Todd, and Todd's very pleased. And we're all pleased.
Yeah, so, I've known Mark for, I don't know, over 30 years. So, he's just a great guy, stand-up guy. So he's good to have on the team. Yeah. So, but it's too bad that you're going to be playing in Pittsburgh, which is Saturday the 10th, the day before your anniversary with the band. So, maybe you can just make it a week-long celebration. Start in Pittsburgh and let it carry over. But it's and your other connection with Pittsburgh, I think a lot of people know, is with the song Renegade and the Steelers. And you guys have done the national anthem. You've played during Steeler games and stuff like that. And it's just a shame they're not. Well, first of all, I think you guys have a gig the day after Pittsburgh, but
yeah, we do.
I think the Steelers start their season playing off in Cincinnati anyway. So that would have been really cool if that timing worked out, that you guys could have been here for a Steelers game. But I just read an article somewhere where they did stats on the Steelers coming from behind to win after they play Renegade in the fourth quarter, and they have won well more than they've lost whenever they kick on Renegade, and it just kind of gives the team a big, huge boost for some reason. So
I love that. We all love that, and of course Tommy especially does. But yeah, we saw the thing that was ESPN put together on that stat, and it showed a bunch of the us playing the song, or them playing the song in the stadium, and then the next play when somebody makes an incredible touchdown or some kind of a big play, and it's fun having that relation. We all love sports, and we're all, this band enjoys stuff outside of music, and that's I think that's what makes it easier to be on the road as much as we are and have been for all these decades. Decades, I guess. But the Steelers thing is really special. It's very cool.
Well, I'm sure the Steelers would love to have you back again sometime soon. Maybe whenever you're done with this leg of the tour or something, if you can make it back this way. The fans would love it. The Steelers would love it. Be a big, huge boost to everybody.
We love it. Absolutely.
So, how about just a couple more things? How important, if at all, is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to you?
Not as much as it used to be, but I don't think people realize that how that works. And I don't want to even sit here and explain it. But I know who I as a kid, before I was probably old enough to really know I was developing as a lover of rock music. My grandmother, she said, who did she say? Before she passed, when I was a little kid, she said, there's this new band. He said, it kind of reminded me of Buddy Holly meets something else. I can't remember what it was. She said, they're called the Stray Cats. Have you heard of them? And I mean, that's how it's all these genres of rock and roll that we call rock and roll, this big, huge, that's got all these little different kinds of, there are some bands that are overlooked who should have been there long ago. We all know that. And then there's some bands that you're kind of, if you're me and a lot of my buddies were scratching our heads going, well, that's okay, you know, whatever, but I don't get it. I mean, I don't put anybody down. There's no reason to. This isn't a stepping, we're not stepping over people. But if there's a little grudge or something that's just I've seen a lot of bands, there's obviously a grudge about that band. There's a little grudge. Where it comes from on that side of the fence, who's in control of that. Okay. But I don't really know, and I'm not going to slam anybody because it's not going to make one bit of difference in our career. Not one.
Yeah, I'm not the only one who thinks that Styx should be there, and maybe that would cause more drama. Because of obviously Dennis would have to go in, but it didn't. It worked out fine for Journey with bringing Steve Perry and reuniting with the guys.
Yeah,
and stuff,
I think it should be for any band that has that situation. The people that deserve that helped make it happen have to be there, and there's no question.
Well, you've got a long history of playing in bands and being in the music industry that I would think that it would be only fitting that if sooner or later you get there. Again, with you, like, to me, I don't make that a pinnacle of a band's success, whether they make it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I think a lot of that is music politics behind the scenes that goes on. And it doesn't really interest me. But at the same time, it's good to see the bands get their just due, like Yes going in and Rush going in and stuff like this. So where you don't, a lot of fans like, well, how do they get in? Whatever, you know what I mean? But it's, I think that there are some bands that just without question, they just belong in a memorialized forever somewhere in some place like that, whether how it happens. That's up to someone else, obviously.
Yeah.
So anyways, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe the stars will align. You and I are ever in the same town with some time. Maybe we'll get to play some golf together or something. So anything other than when you get off this leg of the tour, what are you doing besides resting?
Well, we do have a run we're going to do with Nancy Wilson in Canada in October. And then we're doing something I don't think we've ever done. I think we only have one show in November, and I believe no shows in December. So we've never we packed in a lot of shows already this year. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of a vacay. And unless we get together, we'll probably get together. And I know people are writing. We've all got little kernels things, and it's probably time to be thinking about that. We're back in sort of that pattern, which is cool. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen for next year. I know they're already booked next year. Right. Big part of it. They know at least what and who. We're the last to know. Management fills this in. It's on a need to know basis, and we don't need to know, I guess. So, but we're still cranking and getting excited for 2003. I mean, 23. It's like I don't know. It's what we do. It's what we do.
Right. Well, you guys, I think, are never gonna take your foot off the pedal, and that's a good thing. As long as you guys stay healthy and keep your voices intact, I think that there's no reason why you shouldn't just keep going at it. I mean, the fans love it.
Brother.
I'll see you guys anytime you're around here. If I can make it down to Tampa, since my dad lives down there, I'll stop by and see you guys. Because like I said, why stop now? It's been 44 years, right?
Just let me know, brother. I'll take care of it.
Oh, awesome. So for anybody else, you make sure you get to Star Lake. I don't even know what they're calling it anymore. Everybody knows it in Pittsburgh as the Star Lake Amphitheater. They keep changing the name every year or whatever. It as Star Lake Amphitheater in Burgestown, which is just outside of Pittsburgh. Make sure you get there to see Styx. I'm sure there's some lawn seats and stuff like that still available. And we'll throw up your social media handles here so people can connect with you on. You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. Do you do Twitter at all?
I kind of stay away from it personally, but contact me any way you can.
All right, awesome. And so, hope everybody's having a great, Labor Day weekend. We sometimes forget these things like, swing by so quick. We got a holiday weekend, especially when you're on tour. You're like, oh, really? It's a holiday weekend. Not for you guys. There's no rest for the wicked there.
Yeah.
Ricky, I appreciate you lending us your time and, being here, and we know you're having a great show in Pittsburgh. And
I always love chatting with you, Michael.
this is awesome. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to say real quick. You've sent me some really interesting stories of messaging before. You were cracking me up so bad. Have you ever thought about writing a book about the funny things that happened to you on tour? I mean, you had some really good anecdotes. You should write a book, put them in a book.
Really?
Oh,
jeez,
yeah.
I've probably forgotten all the anecdotes now. But
if you could recall them, I think it would make an interesting book. So funny as hell, man. But
cool.
So appreciate you being here for sorry the Big M can't make it with us, but folks, he's out promoting his new EP, Just Me and Hopefully You. So go out and make sure you download that for free. It's available to everybody out there. For Ricky Phillips, I am Michael Kadrie. This is the Blabber Brain Show, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, Michael.